colour in Bucharest. So you've got to remember in those days there was no advertising, so there's no neon lights. I mean, there were street lights on the main roads, but no street lights on the side streets. No shops as such. You had to go to the marketplaces to buy your food. There were some tailor shops, I remember, with big cactus plants in the windows. Every shop seemed to have cactus plants for some reason or other. But just a lack of colour. My first contact with Romania came through television coverage of the state of orphanages, so-called. So we drove over here in a van full of medical aid, baby food, all those sort of things, and literally drove across Europe, not knowing what to expect or whatever. There was a big difference in attitude when you got into the Hungarian side. When you got onto the Romanian side, it was completely different. I mean, it was just extraordinary. And I was asked for a stampila. A stamp. I mean, we never used stamps in England. Why would I need a stamp? And apparently I had to make a list of all the things that were in the vehicle and stamp it to make it official. But I don't have a stamp. Oh, no, then you can't come in. But this is, for the children's side. No, you can't come in, not without a stamp. So I actually used a 10 penny or 10 pence coin, and I rubbed my biro over the top of it and to get the impression of this round stamp on this piece of paper with the Queen's head on it. And they must have thought it was really official. So they allowed us in graciously, but we did have to part with a couple of packets of cigarettes, as we normally did when we went over the border. I think the first thing probably was the smell. So it was a smell of excrement and vomit. It was permeated everywhere. Then there was the rocking. The children rocking back and forth in their cots, almost as if they were in the arms of imaginary mummies, And then the screaming, just children screaming, just for screaming's sake, and other children just talking to an imaginary person. So nothing that I'd ever done in my whole life actually prepared me for that moment. It was hard, very, very hard. I worked in a room with 20 children, so they were aged between 8 and 9. They were all still being bottle fed. None of them had left their cots for all that we could say. They were cot bound, they couldn't walk. Some were able to sit up, some just laid there aimlessly. You had one carer for 20 children. Carmen was a girl in my room, and she just looked like an 80-year-old woman in a child's body, full of wrinkles. And she died in the second week that we were there, so I was working in this place for 1 month. So she was the first child to die. And then there was Decibel, who always laid on his front, he never turned over until the milk came. I mean, the woman used to come along with metal buckets with the milk bottles in there, and as soon as the children heard that, they rolled over, sat up, waiting for their bottle of milk. But because the cots were so tight together, what was happening was the stronger children were finishing their milk and then grabbing the bottle of milk from their next door neighbour and drinking that as well. So the ones who were quite weak got even weaker. I just couldn't imagine how anyone could actually treat or not treat children in a non-caring environment. The fact that they were just looking after basic needs was just completely alien to me. So we made a decision, much against the director's will, to wean these children, these 20 children in my room. And we did successfully. We got them on because we had baby food. We brought over a lot of baby food. So once we'd started feeding the children, the diarrhea stopped. They became stronger, and this was in a matter of days you saw these changes taking place. Within the month, we had all the children pretty well up and walking by that stage. And of course, once we took them out the cots, that was an awful experience as well, because they were being taken out the security, the only place they'd ever known. And you were physically removing them from that environment into something which was unknown to them. And they screamed uncontrollably. I mean, they felt really, really threatened. And all we were doing was taking them from the cot just to put them on the floor so that they could interact with the other children in the room. And we took them out for the first time ever. They'd never ever been outside. Florentina was a little Roma girl with beautiful black curly hair, but she was almost blind by that stage. So when we took her outside, I had her in my arms, and she started touching the leaves on the trees and on the bushes, and everything had to go on the lips, just like a newborn baby touches everything on their lips. So Florentina would do with everything that she came in contact with. It was just extraordinary, and you could see just the change in these children to be outside and in the sunlight. I mean, it was just extraordinary. And once the children found their legs and started being able to walk, they just became little explorers. All they wanted to do is explore the environment in which they lived in. And so that meant leaving the room that they had been confined to, certainly leaving the cots. I mean, the transformation was incredulous, absolutely incredulous. I didn't believe that such a change could happen to a small number of children who'd been deprived of pretty well everything: love, affection, stimulation, to be able to respond so quickly. And these were irrecuperable. So if we could do that for 20 children in 1 month, you can imagine why I came back. My first marriage broke down. I lost my eldest son in a car accident before I came here, just before I came here. So in many respects, looking back now, it's easy to see that, yeah, okay, I was running away personally from all the things that were troubling me back in the UK, and trying to find this person who didn't exist anymore. I mean, my first part of my life was over, and I had no idea what the next part of my life was going to be like. I had absolutely no idea. So maybe it is not unusual that I could adjust so well to living in a ghetto in Zabruz, because there was nothing else really for me to do. I mean, I was here, I had to do something with my life, I had to make it work. And I then moved into Ferental, I mean, this disused block, ghetto, and I just immersed myself into the local area. I used to go to the bars with the local Roma, we used to have beers and whatever, and I just totally immersed myself in the community, which was the only way I think I could have coped. I mean, okay, I was referred to locally as Inglés el bun, the crazy English person, you know, crazy Englishman. But I never saw myself as an oddity. I mean, it never crossed my mind that this was a really strange thing to do. But I mean, I look back now and go, wow. I mean, it was a police no-go area. The police wouldn't go anywhere near it. No taxis would come anywhere near it. So we had to do a lot of walking to get in and out of the place. But no, I mean, I was treated with the greatest respect. I mean, I got invited to baptisms and weddings and so on. And so I was very much part of the community. They never physically abused me at all, or verbally. They would try and steal, fine. But I mean, they treated me well, absolutely so well. At that time, the demographic of homelessness was older men, 50 plus, who'd been living on the streets and were what we would describe as chronic homeless. So they were there until they died. Went to various places like Gare du Nord, the parks, and started talking with homeless people. And we started talking with them, gaining their trust, and we used to buy them coffee and cigarettes and everything else. And we talked about night shelters. And I said, okay, so tell me what a night shelter is and I'll build you one. And they said, no, you're the expert, you tell us what a night shelter is. I said, actually, I'm not the expert here because I know nothing about homelessness or anything else, or night shelters. But you're the experts because you've got lived experience of being homeless. So all we're going to do is answer your needs. So you tell me what you need and we'll build a night shelter based on those needs. And you've got to remember back in those days, I mean, Google had only just started, so the internet was just in its infancy. So it wasn't as if you could go and Google what's a night shelter and have all this information and all this experience. We had nothing, there was nothing. We had to start from scratch. The municipality gave us a building in București, a former fruit and vegetable shop, but quite a large one. And they moved in. We cleaned it up, we painted and decorated it, we got some furniture together, and it was in the space of 2 or 3 weeks, we transformed this building into a night shelter. And I said to them, this is your night shelter. It is your responsibility. I can pay the bills, but you have to look after it. So I was never there outside normal working hours. So when it was 9 to 5, I went home at 5 o'clock, see you later, guys. And it was just amazing. They took on the role of looking after this place and treated it like their home. And I mean, the first morning I got there and there was a guy who was crying. And I tried to comfort him and he said, no, you got it all wrong. He said, I'm not crying because I'm sad. He said, I'm crying because I'm overjoyed. This is the first time I've been in a bed in 5.5 years. I thought, wow. That's powerful. That's really, really powerful. And another guy, Petre, and I asked him how he slept, and he said, sleep, you've got to be joking. I've never been more comfortable in my life. If you think I was going to waste that sleeping, this is crazy. I mean, and these were guys who were alcoholic, who were bums living on the street, and they totally transformed themselves. And I thought, okay, I'm kind of liking this, working with homeless people, so. So we opened in the winter of 97-98, and in November 98, Prince Charles officially opened the night shelter. That was an amazing moment as well, because you should have spent 40 minutes with us. You spent about an hour and a half altogether with us. King Mihai also visited with Queen Anna, and on that particular occasion, it was the first time that King Mihai was allowed back into the country. I was talking to him and said, actually, you know, I have a night shelter for all the homeless men. Would you come visit? And he said, yes, I would. I'd like to very much. So within a week or two, he was there and he arrived. And we had a woman there as well. And she was blind and she used to crochet little woolen baskets. And she put in this little basket bread and salt. And the king just looked at her, held this little basket and wept. The person who actually welcomed him in the traditional way was a little blind homeless woman. It was just extraordinary. Romanian men tend to be macho men. The world revolves around them. We had one case where a woman from the countryside was actually chained naked to a tractor in the front garden by her husband as a form of punishment. I mean, it's just awful. I mean, just absolutely awful. These women are broken. I mean, they're emotionally broken. They are physically exhausted. I mean, you can try and imagine a situation where you're living with somebody who's abusive. You're living at your wit's end because no matter what you do, you have to try so hard not to upset this person because you're going to get beaten. I mean, I've heard so often from survivors of domestic abuse, they put up with it because they thought it was a normal part of marriage, because their mothers had told them, okay, sometimes these things happen, so it's part of being married. It's my home. I mean, I've never lived in one place as long as I have here, 28 years. So in many respects, it's also the country of my rebirth, because it's where I discovered who I really was. And I liked very much who I'd become. So, and you know, my second wife is Romanian. I have a Romanian family. I have more Romanian friends than I have foreign friends. So no, I mean, it's my country. I have the right to demonstrate and protest against the government if I see it as corrupt. And I take that position very seriously. I mean, I don't want corrupt politicians, and I'll stand down in Piazza Universitate or Victoria or whatever other piazza and shout my mouth, because I think it's wrong and it deserves to be said. And if more of us did it, then I think we could effect change. So yeah, is that incitement to riot? I hope not.